What's up, guys? It's the Saruki reporting from Slimani, and today I've got something special for you. Where are we?
We are at Kurdistan organization. We are an intergovernmental organization working for LGBT and women's rights. We believe in spreading equality and we believe in coexistence. So anyone from any different gender or sexuality or religion or race, it doesn't matter. We want them to live peacefully and safely in our city.
Okay, we're gonna have a tour of the place, and we're gonna have a conversation later to see what it's like being LGBT here in Kurdistan. Right? Okay, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Okay, and you're gonna show us around.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so this is our complaint box. Basically, anyone who has a complaint about management, Rasan, whatever, they're gonna come and put it here. We've got a bathroom, we've got another bathroom, they're both gender neutral.
Yeah, like with pink and blue colors.
Yeah, you can identify as whatever you want.
Okay.
Everything is welcome here. These are the flags of the countries that Rasan has worked with so far. And an LGBTQ one. And then this, our other black bathroom. This is a poster of an event that we have every single year, 2511. It's an event about violence against women and how we try to prevent it. This is our case room for people who have issues, women, LGBT people.
Like a safe space to talk.
It's a safe space, yes. And whenever the case is like real severe and the person doesn't want to be identified, every single door will be closed and only they're gonna meet the lawyer by herself, and that's it. This is, I don't know, a volunteer, a member, whoever has a child, they can just come and put it here. Oh, let's go back to the meeting room.
All right.
This is where we have meetings and where the volunteers get together and management and everything.
All right.
We had a course here as well. It was the third time.
Yes, so we have reports about our events here. So this is the group of volunteers. This is the last one we've had with Sarah in it. So she's recently started volunteering with us. And we always, this is always a busy place, but because our projects are coming to an end, we're working on new projects. It's kind of empty comparing to the other times. But we always put any campaigns. For example, we have a campaign that's I'm human too.
Okay. That says the hashtag. What does the hashtag say?
It says I'm human too in Kurdish, and it's about LGBT people that they need to be treated humanly and equally as everyone else. This is where we gather. Usually we work on our projects. For example, we have a project right now that we're working on. It's about collecting information on youth, on how they think about the LGBT issues and LGBT people in general.
Like questionnaires, right?
Yes, we basically, it's like a survey and then we review them and we make a data out of them. So our current target is 1,000 people as of now, but we are hoping to increase that as time passes. And obviously we have many posters that we are hanging in our rooms in Rasan, and also these are some of the posters that we spread throughout the city of Suleimania. Basically, they generally reflect gender equality and LGBT acceptance, as we can see in this poster. And then we also had a bunch of posters when ISIS was around, reflecting the abuse that ISIS committed against women, and also about domestic abuse and child marriage.
Sexual slavery.
Yes, and child marriage, which is an issue that we have in the Middle East until this day, unfortunately. And part of our activities include practical activities. For example, in this one, we have the tree activity that we are working with volunteers when they come here to develop them and train them. And this is one of the activities that we perform with them. They basically state every issues that cause a society to collapse and that causes major political and economical damage to a country. And they list everything, the causes and the solutions to these issues. And here we have one of our strongest messages, and we are very proud of it. This is basically a reflection of how women can be powerful. So the hand, it's a mean of power for women. And this is also when we started the pictures, those people all supported the project, as you can see. At first it was empty, and when we took the pictures afterwards, we hanged them here. And as you can see, it was a basic white at first, but then we wanted to paint it a rainbow color to reflect the LGBT community as well. We've done this recently, and we are very proud of it. It's one of our best works in the office, I could say.
Okay, I'm proud as well. You want to get started with the interview?
Yes.
Okay. Z.
Yes.
First, when I came here, you said that in the past, when you were interviewed by the media, then they censored the stuff that you said or they twisted it their way. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the topic of LGBT rights and even women's rights a while back was very sensitive. When we started this project, many of the channels, the popular channels, I'm not gonna name them here, but they came to interview us. Their questions were very neutral, but then they took our responses and cut them and basically put them together to basically give the response that they wanted, not what we actually said.
Was this being filmed or did they blog?
Yes, they filmed, and also in blogging we have had this experience that there were mistranslations. For example, they came to interview us in the Kurdish language, but then when the translation went to the English version, it was lost or mistranslated, and most of the time, unfortunately, this caused a backlash against us. But the reality is that the media is often trying to be seen as neutral, but they're very biased, and they don't support the movement. One of the most popular medias in the Kurdistan region told us about that. We are working on a thing that's so disgusting that they don't want to report about it. And it was very unfortunate at first. It was very discouraging when we started doing this work, but we never gave up. We knew that what was coming in our way. We knew that there would be hate crimes committed. Some of our staff were actually...
That's okay.
Okay, sorry. Maybe we can put that on?
Yeah, don't worry.
So some of our staff even got beaten down on the streets, and they were called names.
Your staff
yes,
were beaten?
Yes.
After the interviews became public?
Yes, on the public streets. After our paintings were painted on the walls, some of our staff were faced with violence, verbally and also physically, unfortunately, for the staff that were in the front lines, basically, the ones that were seen most of the time on social media and in interviews. And it was very unfortunate, but we knew that those things are gonna happen, and we even took into account that some of us would be actually honestly murdered. And we always mitigated, these kind of risks, and we always talked about it. For example, we started doing this, we changed our logo. Our logo was purple, then now it's rainbow colors. Yeah. When we changed that, we thought about that even the department for registering organization could take away our license. So we thought about all the risks that could happen. Some of them happened and some of them did not happen, thankfully. But it's very sensitive, it's very controversial, not in the Kurdistan region, but in Iraq as a whole. But we are lucky at the end to say that we have a society comparing to the rest of Iraq that is willing more to accept and observe the topic. But in the southern parts, outside the Kurdistan region, there are many reports that activists are just being murdered just for working or reporting about these issues that LGBT people face. And they have a very, very tough time to work activists on working on women's rights or LGBT rights. So at the end, we always say that even though it was tough, we are at the end lucky that we did not face many difficulties comparing to our peers in the southern regions.
In South Iraq, yeah.
Yes, and we are very sympathetic with them always, of course.
My next question is, are people in general here afraid to come out of the closet in front of their friends, in front of their parents, in front of their family?
Definitely, yes. It's a very tough thing to do. We had a case, a public figure in the Kurdistan region. She is a transgender woman now. You can look her up, called Elisa Ali Najat. She at
I think
first.
I know who that is.
Yes, at first, basically, she was a transgender, but she couldn't say it, so she had to go out acting like a man, acting like something that she is not. And every day she was faced with the question if she's a member of the LGBT community, and she always had to deny it because things were already so bad for her just because she was an artist and she did not agree with something our society did. And she did not even say that she was an LGBT person. But after that, when she went out, I think she lives in Sweden now, she transitioned completely, and now she's living her life the way she wants, in the body she wants, in that she's proud of her identity. But she could not do that here. That's not like transgender people have the toughest time because they can't.
It's very physical.
It's very physical. Yes, we have a case here that their parents don't know that she's a transgender person, and she has to come out every day hating herself for the way she looks because she can't be the way she looks. She has to act like she's a man. She has to act like someone that she's not, and that's very tough. But also when it comes to gay and bisexual and lesbians, it's the same case. For gay people, especially the ones that are more feminine, and you could see it that they're bottom, let's say, they face the most discrimination because most of the names, most of the insults are reserved to these people, not to the tops, because they think tops, even though they're gay, they think that they're straight, and because the act is like straight, and you can't see it, so most of the insults are reserved to bottom people. And but yeah, they also face many discrimination, unfortunately, in our society. They're not free at all. Many of them are afraid to be even in a relationship because if their families find out, we have many cases that they are being forced to marry. For example, a gay man is forced to marry a woman and have children and not be attracted to that woman at all. So we, at the end, because of this discrimination and stigma, we force someone to create a collapsing family. They create a children that at some point they have to abandon. They make a person believe that they love them when they don't, and that's very unfortunate. And we know that they do it only to stay safe, because we had cases if they deny marrying a woman if they're gay, they would be probably killed or probably being forced outside of their homes. Yes. And it's very unfortunate, but it's the reality, unfortunately, at the moment in our society. And this is what we're working on. We want to normalize LGBT people in society. They're just human, like they don't have anything that you have to exclude them from society because of it. Yeah. They're not criminals, they're practicing something just for themselves, they're not affecting anyone's lives.
So this is common knowledge in the West.
Exactly, but unfortunately it's not here. When we started working on this, we faced a heavy backlash because they're not even treated as humans, to be honest, in our society. And we want this to stop. We want them to have the rights a straight couple has. Why does a straight couple can go outside? Why can they go outside and like hang to each other's hands and kiss each other's, hold hands and kiss each other, and no one's talking about it? But if an LGBT person goes out even alone,
are you sure straight couples can kiss each other?
Well, not exactly like in their lips or something, but like on the cheeks they can,
Yeah.
If like two guys did that and people knew they were gay, it's gonna be a whole different story.
Might be a lynch.
Yes, it's very sad and unfortunate. But public display of affection generally, yes, it's frowned upon. Even in countries like, I had a research about Nairobi. In Africa,
Kenya.
and yes, and they also had a law about public display of affection that they were not allowed. People were not allowed to display any kinds of public display of affection outside. So I think we're kind of influenced the Middle East because of heavy belief in religions and all that. They're really influenced about not doing these sorts of things outside. But in the Kurdistan region, we can see couples going out like. In restaurants, you can see them in cafes, but they do not face this kind of discrimination that LGBT people are facing.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Have there been cases where people that did come out of the closet, or that their family found out that they are LGBT, that these people were killed or disowned?
Yeah, unfortunately, many cases like that is happening.
Murders by their family.
Yes, We have one of the cases that we're having currently. He was forced to run away from his home bare feet without anything, and later he was forced to go into prostitution because he did not have any means of livelihood. So he had to sell his body to just get money, enough money to buy a sandwich and eat it throughout
Here
the
in
day.
Kurdistan.
Here in Kurdistan.
Yeah.
Even though the government is really acting like it's a heaven here comparing to the rest of Iraq, it's better, but it's not so good. You know, we still have cases where women are killed and murdered by their families. We have cases of LGBT people being killed. Another case where an LGBT person was murdered and they did not even retrieve the bodies until their faces were basically eaten by wild animals. And the police actually proudly talks about these things. In our region, the police and Asaish, it's the major part of this issue. They're treating LGBT people very, very badly. They're detaining them based on no law. So in Iraqi law, in the Iraqi penal codes, being gay or practicing homosexuality is not illegal. But they are taking a specific penal code 393, and they're forcing them, it's about rape, but it's forcing them on LGBT people. So for example, in the case of a top and a bottom, the top would be the criminal, and the bottom would be the victim, but they will be both detained and both fined for practicing homosexuality. But this is a legal scandal, to be honest, I could say, that's happening in our country, and no one's talking about it. There are mistranslations, misinterpretations of our laws, and even the lawyers think they are correct. No one's there to correct it for them. And that's why we are doing a lot of courses and distributing booklets about this issue, that it's illegal according to our law to prosecute someone for having sex or having a relationship, be it a straight couple or a gay couple. But there are only six states that should be present in the sexual contact. For example, they should be both above 18, so no minors. They should be not married. They should be in consent when they're doing the act. But you know, if these things are not present, it will be a crime. But sometimes they're present and they're still detained, and it's very unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of cases like that are happening. And we are working into abolishing these. We are working with Asaish and police at the moment, and we are distributing booklets and information to them, so they are gaining more knowledge about the issue and who LGBT people are and who their identity is or are. And through this, we are hoping that they are treated more fairly. We had a case that the police separated them from the room to stop the other man from sexually harassing them because they were LGBT people. And they let our case manager know that they did this because they saw one of our courses, and now they understand more thoroughly what an LGBT person is being like. And that was a very proud moment for us, that a person inside Asaish and police that did that, because we feel that we are making a change in our society, and we are making a change in the mindset of the people. And that's what we're working on. There are other organizations working on LGBT people on an individual level. So they basically wait until the person has some sort of crime committed against them to defend them. But we don't do that. We don't believe in that. We work on a community level. We want to change the mindset of the people so that violation does not happen in the first place. And we are hoping that more organizations will adapt to this system of work.
Okay. My next question, what does this organization do to change the current situation?
We have been doing a lot of work for the past 5 years. We've painted and paraded the Suleimani region with murals and paintings on the walls that reflect gender equality.
You mean graffiti?
Not exactly, but we like to call it murals. Because they deliver a message. They're not just graffiti. They're not just there.
No, what I meant is like in the street.
Yes.
On walls. Okay.
Yes. So they are there to basically raise awareness about gender equality, coexistence, the situation of LGBT people. When we started, many of the paintings that reflected LGBT people, they were defaced with black paint, so they basically painted over them. But we launched a countermeasure against these vandalizations, that we painted over the vandalizations once again to restore the paintings to their original state. So this was our campaign that we used to basically throw the word into the people that we're working for this community, and we are starting to do more projects for them. And you can't stop us because this is our rights. What we're doing is not illegal. So that was the project that started everything. And then for the past 5 years, we have been working on cases individually. We've been providing direct and indirect services. Our direct services included psychosocial and legal aid, and we also supported them with consultation, and some of them wanted to talk to us online to express themselves, or just like a therapist they wanted to talk to. We provided all that. We basically, some of the cases that we had needed assistance of psychological experts. We provided that. They needed, for example, medicine in the case of transgender people that need hormonal therapy. We provided that. Some of them did not have money to go to the doctor to do simple checkups on their bodies, on their health, and we provided the money for that as well. And that among many projects that raise awareness. For example, we work with community leaders, religious figures, lawyers, police and Asaish, all of these people, to raise awareness regarding this issue, and we wanted through them to deliver our message through to the society. So we did not exactly work on society at first. We worked on the community leaders, because even if we talk to a normal person outside, if they accepted it, then they could not do anything because the powers above themselves did not accept the condition, the situation, and they refused to work on it. And we're hoping to do more in the next 5 years. We're hoping to have shelters for LGBT people. We're hoping to work more widely on the violence they're facing, to write more reports, to work on developing a better vocabulary, because the vocabulary that we're having at the moment is unfortunately very queerphobic. At first, when we started,
vocabulary, you mean the way people name?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. The nouns that we're having at the moment are very discriminative and even linguistically wrong, I can say, because there are no one working on these names because they think it's bad, or they think it will impact their career. But we're gonna work on that for the next 5 years as well, to develop a better and more queer-friendly vocabulary. And as always, we are keeping LGBT people in mind. It's very unfortunate that they're facing so many violence, so many discrimination, and they're very stigmatized just for being an LGBT person. If this was a choice, no one would choose to go through all of this. And we want everyone to know that these people are already under a lot of pressure on accepting themselves and their identities, and when they come along and discriminate against them and do not accept them as the way they are, it will bring suicidal tendencies to them. It will cause mental issues for them. So
depression.
Yes, and the best thing that we could do is accept them the way they are. You can't change it. History have proven that you can't change these individuals. You can't change LGBT people. They're born that way. They feel they were born that way. So you have to accept this. You can't force them into someone that they are not, because it's just not gonna happen. They may act like it worked with whatever you did, but it's not gonna happen. We had the case of that man that had one of the biggest conversion therapy centers that later came out as gay, even though he had a wife and children. Not here.
I think I've heard that story.
Yes, I think it was in a European country. I'm not sure exactly, but it's funny because he ran a conversion therapy center, and he really convinced a lot of people that gay people could be cured. But at the end, he came out as gay and said, I lied about my identity all of these years, lied to myself, most importantly. And I thought that was a really brave moment, for him to come out and just accept that he was wrong, because many people still cannot accept that fact to this day.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to tell the viewers before we wrap it up?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to tell everyone to please be more supportive to the community, especially the LGBT community in the region, in the MENA region generally. They don't have any voice, they don't have any support. And the work that we're currently doing is supported by some of the European and American states and countries. So we need more of this support, we need more of this backing in our region. we already put ourselves at risk for the cause because we believe in it. But if we don't have any, for example, financial backings, if we don't have any supports from outside, we could not work on these issues. And we are lucky for the past 5 years that we have been supported by amazing partners such as All Out, Give a Damn, COC Netherlands, and hopefully for the next 5 years by better partners and even larger organizations to work on these issues.
Okay, and do you have a link or something for the average person to donate to your cause?
At the moment, we do not accept donations. We are only accepting donations from, let's say, governments or
Yes.
Organizations that have, such as the UN, which is funny because the UN actually rejected to support us at first when we started because they were afraid of reputation damage.
Yeah.
And I personally have a lot of issues with the UN. I always tweet and post about how the UN is acting like they're working on the issue, but they're not really working on it. But yeah, we're working through these entities. For example, we could run a campaign through All Out, let's say, and people could support us from there. But directly, at the moment, we do not take any donations. But we're hopefully in the future, we will be accepting donations as well. So just keep on the lookout on our websites and social media for any announcements.
Okay, I'll leave a link to that. And I guess for now, the way that we can help is to spread this message, to share this video. Now you finally had a chance to speak up without anybody censoring you.
Exactly. Yes, that's one of the most important things to us. Like, financial support is important, but what's more important is that the people, even individually, they would start to help raise our voices in the region. Because if more people know about us outside the Kurdistan and Iraq region, then the less chance the government has to oppress and censor our works. So now that, for example, your viewers know about our existence, they would help protest any kind of censorship that would be forced upon us at the future. And that's really important to us. We want our work to continue in the region because it needs to. We are the only organization publicly supporting LGBT people. It's sad, but even if our organization stopped, who would work for these people, this community? Who would support them? No one. They don't have any other voice. And if the only light in the region were to be suddenly extinguished, then it would feel like there's no hope left, to be honest, I could say.
Okay. I just want to say you're very brave for what you're doing, risking your life, honestly, and showing your face like this. And thank you.
And thank you for coming here today and documenting everything about what we're doing.
Yeah. And thank you for watching.
Thank you guys for watching and support this amazing person.
I love you.
Love you too.
Okay.
Thank you.